Hi, everyone. Thank you all for joining today. We're going to jump right in because it is top of the hour here. My name is Charlie Bryan, and I'm a member of the training and development team here at Adswerve, so I will be your moderator today. I'm joined by some brilliant GMP experts who will walk us through our agenda, which does include these items here. So we're going to start with some quick introductions. We'll have an overview of our media activation and consulting services. Then we'll take a high-level look at some industry trends that we have noticed, and we'll wrap it all up with a roundtable discussion of some pressing questions that have been submitted by some of our attendees today. So I'll let our experts introduce themselves soon, but first I want to tell you a little bit about who we are here at Adswerve and what it is that we do, especially for those of you who are new to us. Adswerve is a leading digital media and data consultancy. We are rooted in the Google marketing platform, but our expertise extends way beyond that. And we have over 275 data and media experts on our team. So our guidance comes from experts who have actually done the work. You know, they've been in the field, they've been in your shoes, they know your pains and your wins. So they're working with you, and they're happy to join you on your journey, engaged in a way that is suitable for you and your business. We do service many aspects of the industry, from agencies to marketers to tech companies and even other consultancies. So we remain pretty neutral and nimble, and we can provide a really wide lens to complement your deep knowledge of the field and the industry already. So now that you know a little bit more about Adswerve, let me share a little bit about our presenters today. I'm joined by three experts from our media activation and consulting team. Brittany Medina is a senior consultant who specializes in DV360. Lauren Stone is a consultant focusing on SA360, and we have Mary Kotara, who's a lead consultant and really an overall GMP ninja, who's going to start us off today by sharing a bit more about our activation and consulting services. So Mary, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Lovely. Thank you so much. So from a high level, if you're not familiar with Adswerve's media consulting services, we are your go-to team. We're really here for you in multiple different ways. This slide just kind of shows some of those high level ones that clients have either told us to, or like said to us about us, or kind of how we view ourselves in support of you. So we're there for any sort of ad hoc fire drill assistance. We can be that best in class kind of team the team that would look at your campaigns to make sure that you're best in class based off of our best in class recommendations. Really make any creative solution recommendations to what you have going on, tailored to your campaigns. We maintain integrity in anything. We don't want to ruin any relationships that you might have with your clients. You know, just let us know how we need to kind of fit in and tailor our services to your needs. We also have analytics platform knowledge, given how closely at Adswerve our media and analytics teams kind of work together, grow knowledge, work in tandem, and we can pass that off to you, help kind of connect some dots that may be gaps on your side. We also are fully equipped with all sorts of Google point of views. We have them for escalation. We can kind of work in other scenarios that we've seen clients go through to relay that to you. We're full also of industry insights. You know, it's not just the Google GMP area that we specialize in, whether it's our backgrounds or how we've worked with other clients or just kind of general interests that we have. We really kind of look at the industry as a whole for the insights that'll be kind of provided to you. The expertise in general is, you know, first and foremost in the GMP, so Google Ads, DV360, Search Ads 360, and Campaign Manager 360, but not to say there aren't other platforms that we can't have conversations and guide you with as well. And then lastly, super transparent. In general, kind of a way that Adswerve works with clients is being transparent, and the media consulting team is no different from that. So then this slide also kind of speaks to more tactically how the media consulting team can be that media strategy to help you drive remarkable outcomes. So kind of looking at it from a hands-off approach, how we can still work with you and media teams to kind of make sure that your campaigns are successful from soup to nuts side of it, you know, whether it's the media planning side, whether you're deep in the trenches of something within the campaign that's already live, maybe it's looking at reporting after afterwards, kind of everything that goes along that, and really just making sure that you're reaching your KPIs tailored to a way that fits your business, since everyone is so different. The right hand of this slide kind of speaks to some areas that we have worked with clients in the past to kind of get maybe your gears going on ways that tactically how Adswerve could assist. There are some that are more trending than others, but not to say that the less trending ones wouldn't be super impactful for your business. But frequent ones are campaign optimizations, GMP trainings and knowledge shares, customized audits and development, really kind of looking at your campaigns and calling out areas for opportunity, as well as deal negotiations. That one's kind of more specific to DV360, but any needing support with, I want to get started in connected TV. I know that I need to work with Hulu. Can you support that? Also, any sort of floodlight audits and kind of looking at those for the future. Platform best practices, benchmark development, and then ongoing assistance and feedback of just kind of that reach out to with a gut check or wanting kind of a strategy working session kind of conversation for the platforms. So moving on next, I want to call out two media consulting packages that exist right now. They are kind of titled as Q4, but just as an update, these will kind of carry on into the new year. We're not going to pull them on you. Q4 is just a very popular time when clients need a little bit of assistance, given just the frantic frenzy that goes on. Budgets need to be delivered. It's just a very busy and hectic time. So Adswerve is absolutely here for you. And two of those ways that we can support in Q4 and moving on. First is an industry benchmarking and performance discussion, especially knowing kind of how times are a little bit funkier right now. Adswerve will kind of pull benchmarks according to your campaigns, formats, kind of anything that is going on, tailored to your vertical, and then kind of have a conversation with you around the findings, where it may be different from your campaign performance right now, how the industry might be impacting that, what are trends that are kind of going on in the industry that would kind of tie back into that and maybe lead to some of those to consider, and really just guide you to better understand where your campaigns are in relation to the competitors in your space. And then the next one is a first party audience and cookieless future workshop. This is probably the most requested topic, it seems of late, knowing kind of what is on the horizon and ongoing right now in the industry for media folks. So kind of having a really deep dive discussion around what first party audiences are available to you, what are considerations with those given privacy, what are some like what you might need to think about, what you can and can't do, given what you know about the current state of your clients and their legal teams, and then also kind of looking at having discussions around what that cookieless future will look like, what Google is taking on for themselves, what you need to be considerate of as a media buyer, and kind of painting this holistic picture just to make you feel a lot more secure and ready to kind of take on the future that is ahead, with everything that's going on as legislation changes, as data clean rooms come up, as consent management platforms are adopted, kind of all of those considerations previously, didn't always have to super consider, and now it's at the forefront of everything that we're doing. So all in all, kind of those two offerings are available to you. If you're interested in hearing any others, reach out to your account representative, because there's a few others that we have as well. So now diving into industry trends, and kind of they'll set a good framework for kind of the questions and conversation that we'll have later. So first, looking at some impactful industry trends and findings. The first one kind of coming from Nestle, and they are, by moving forward to a first-party data-driven approach, leveraging Google's privacy-preserving advertising and technology tools, they've improved sales performance. So very kind of buzzwordy looking sentence, but essentially the trend there is, taking those, Nestle as a brand is taking on the future ahead now, and actually starting to adopt first party data driven opportunities, using that privacy preserving like APIs and things that Google is working on to kind of get ahead of it now, dive into the trenches, and they're actually seeing that great performance, as opposed to kind of waiting maybe a little bit of a freak out or an unknown later and kind of having to figure it out. But it's also really great to see that while we're concerned about the future ahead, not everyone, but there are concerns about kind of what that's going to look like. Nestle has adopted what most of us are going to have to do in the future now, and they're seeing an improved in sales performance. So while cookies may be going away, that doesn't mean that performance is going to suffer. Next, there's a trend that's been going on for a while, that advertisers have more options than ever to kind of pick what media platforms they choose, all the different data providers, attribution, any of those sorts of things. The sky is the limit. And as a result of that, and kind of having all those options, they end up having to log into a lot of different platforms, get reporting for a lot of different platforms. They're using many different media platforms to like deliver on clients' budgets, and that ends up with wasted media dollars, partially because you're likely serving the same inventory, the same audiences in multiple different areas. There's not like a consolidation or a frequency management approach to kind of hone in on where your impressions are going, and a poor user experience because teams are having to manage a lot, gather all of these different data sources. So knowing that trend, just as a little side note here, you know, the GMP is a great place to consolidate where you can. The next one is kind of also looking at the future and how the industry will look. With AI-powered solutions becoming increasingly more common and can strengthen confidence to deliver better outcomes, all privacy safe. These kind of include modeling, predictive targeting, and analytics, which all kind of tie into that measurement strategy. So AI is not a foreign concept, I would imagine, to most of us at this point. How it's going to come into media is an evolving and growing opportunity. But the solutions that do exist now, especially as it relates to the like first-party data and what you can do with it, and not manipulate it, but like how you can use AI to draw conclusions through modeling, predictive targeting, and any sort of analytics opportunities, is going to be a really strong way forward that is being built out now and is going to just kind of maintain in the future. And lastly, 89% of marketing decision makers agree that leadership is raising the pressure on them to demonstrate ROI. Not surprising, knowing kind of how odd of a year that we've had. It hasn't been, you know, it hasn't been a booming necessarily media year as we're reading the news and kind of seeing all of the trials and tribulations that's going on. So it's understandable that the decision makers are kind of doubling down and wanting to see that ROI on the dollars they are spending. So the leaders who are able to link data spending to the data drivers of revenue are going to be able to defend those budgets easier. Not a super shock there, but just kind of a really good note to consider, especially as making any sort of decisions at your own companies, what to prioritize, what to look at, tying the data spending with those ROI delivery opportunities will be great. So now looking at that was like industry trends, and now looking at client trends. This in and of itself is a trend that we're seeing. Clients are asking, well, what are other clients wanting? What are other clients doing? Kind of wanting to make sure that they are staying best in class. They're not, you know, losing out on something. They're not blind to something. So I wanted to provide y'all with 5 opportunities that we're seeing and trends with clients. First and foremost is needing documentation, standardization documentation, whether it's for QA, you know, after you build a campaign in a platform, build something out, someone to QA it, standardize the documentation for that process, trafficking sheets to make sure that everything kind of is smooth, mistakes aren't made, everyone is aligned. And then same with media plans, so that kind of what you are intending on putting in the platform is also what the client signs off on, what whoever is building it out or QAing it, kind of everyone knows what's going on. This also leads to workflow efficiencies, and in most scenarios, a huge reduction in any sort of like make goods. So in looking at those like media dollars needing to go further, kind of wanting to make the most efficiencies as possible. Next, they're interested in learning more about the available targeting for YouTube and CTV, most popularly in DV360. And kind of how not only they can be used together in that platform, but how they can both shine kind of independently to create a really great holistic strategy. There have been great rollouts for both YouTube and CTV in, you know, the past few years, and especially with CTV in the last year. So clients are kind of wanting to stay on top of that, understand what's possible, even ties into the consolidation of platforms effort. The more that they learn about those two platforms and what's possible, the more they realize they can consolidate and find efficiencies there. Third one is integrating GA4 with their media campaigns for audiences and bidding. GA4 is the Google Analytics way forward, as free GA and GA360 are have been sunset or are going to be sunset. A lot of, typically those platforms were just for the analytics teams, or in a smaller capacity for media teams, but now GA4 is a great platform for media teams to lean into, because they can kind of actually more closely tie what's going on the client site into their media platforms in a streamlined way due to the integrations that are possible. So clients are looking to not only learn about that integration, begin the integration, and then also start testing, building audiences in there, bringing them over into the platforms for targeting, suppression, all that good fun, or bringing them in to bid towards them in their media and not having to rely strictly on floodlights all the time. The fourth one is they're curious about budget and bid strategies in the new UI for SA360. That was a new, by the name, a new opportunity. The new UI, that transition is kind of going on right now in the next few months. So a lot of clients are kind of feeling that pressure, realizing it's coming up that they need to move from the old UI to the new UI. They want to make sure their strategies are aligned. Nothing is going to be lost. Are there opportunities for new strategies to consider? So they're reaching out and inquiring to kind of make sure that, one, nothing is going to go haywire with the transition, and also, like, are there new considerations and better opportunities to consider? And lastly, a lot of consolidation. So kind of tying into the overarching theme of efficiencies, clients are making sure that there's not any kind of like media waste out there. So are there too many floodlights going on? Do we need to, remove those? Do we need to kind of check in if they all are even applicable? Do we need to move them into GA4 events instead? And then also consolidating with the media platforms, tying into that trend previously around there's so many options, so much media waste. So starting to think more critically around, okay, how do we start to consolidate these so we're not duplicating audience reach, and we're not oversaturating the market, and we're thinking more critically about it.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Mary. Lots of trends to keep in mind from industry and client trends that we're seeing. So lots of things to think about. But we're going to dive into our roundtable now. We did have several questions that were submitted during registration, so thank you to the folks who submitted those. In the future, don't be shy. Submit all the questions that you have. If you have multiple questions, submit them all. We probably won't have time for additional Q&A today, since we did get some questions ahead of time. So if you do have questions beyond the ones that we answer today, we highly encourage you to reach out to your Adswerve account manager to discuss those solutions, ideas, suggestions, etc. They're here to help, and they can point you in the right direction if they need to go a little bit further. So without further ado, we're going to dive into our first question here, which says, if I can get my screen here, there are now more ways than ever to find a story. How have strategies for distribution changed over the last few years, if at all?
Cool. I think I can kick us off with this question. So really overall, the structure is actually going to be the same. The data that's going to be informing those insights, that is what's currently changing and evolving in real time. So the basic foundations that you're familiar with in utilizing the marketing funnel, all of that's still going to apply for a successful marketing strategy. The attribution part is where it's kind of still trying to get its footing, as well as distribution. And it's really going to only be as good as the data that's being collected between all these sources. And this is kind of why we are really pushing for that consolidation, because while there will still be fragmentation in the industry, I do expect that we will see more of a focus towards getting access to new insights and new metrics in the future, which would tell different stories. So I think that those stories will mature as we see the technology maturing. And I think that ultimately, what you can do as a business is just determine what metrics really matter for you and your business.
Yeah, and to add a little bit more to that as well, I'd say right now buyers have a lot more data at their disposal than they maybe used to. It may look a little bit different, but the data opportunities are there, so you're able to better understand the truer story. 10 years ago and even farther, the credit most often went to last click, which led to it often being search dollars. So it was really hard to kind of paint that picture for maybe upper funnel metrics like programmatic. So that was a really big consideration for that story back then. But now, with speaking to that AI conversation and kind of how modeling will come in, we can get more honed in with that data and really paint that story and that picture better with things like media mix modeling, multi-touch attribution, data-driven attribution. So we can more clearly see like how each touch point plays a part and is actually critical to the overarching success, rather than just kind of like a simple last click, that's it, that's the only thing that's working.
Awesome, thank you. So our second question then is, how are media trends and strategies adjusting to the strict data sharing requirements governed by GDPR and now in the US, the CPRA?
Yes, very great question. So right now, media teams are, I'd say, working more closely with other teams than ever before. So whether it's analytics, legal teams, developers, et cetera, to make sure that they are aligning their media strategies with the rest of the organization, with kind of that larger picture that's going on, driven by these changes. Media teams need to be dynamic according to each state as well, and also kind of the state of the client's privacy journey. So just lots of considerations. A client with a consent banner on their site will have a media strategy that will look different than a client that doesn't have one, just by nature of staying kind of privacy compliant with these new updates. But we can all agree taking that state level approach is not necessarily a good idea. It's risky for that, since each state, CPRA is going to look different than, since that's California based, than what New York has going on. So media teams kind of need to be aware of those, and actually opting for more of a nationwide and in fact like a global approach will be a lot better for them.
Yeah, and I think with cookie deprecation, it is right around the corner. So I guess if you are still not quite there with your data, yeah, just be a little prepared to see things potentially get worse before they get better, and just have a plan in place. Really, you just need to focus on filling in those gaps where data can't really fulfill those budgets with contextual targeting. As Mary mentioned, AI, machine learning will also kind of be helping to incorporate some of the filling in those gaps in a privacy safe way. And really just try to stay up to date with any laws and regulations that are going on. We can add a link that is a good resource for any up-to-date legislation state by state. However, I have looked into it a little bit myself, and most of those rights are pretty overarchingly the same and consistent. There's some nuances here and there. So if you want to really cover your bases and be safe, you can kind of take the extra precautions and err on the side of caution there to make sure that you're covering every kind of right. And as always, also please, if you have in-depth questions, go to your your legal team to talk about any type of legislation that is maybe confusing.
Yeah. And Brittany mentioned that it gets worse before it gets better, but there's always sunshine after a storm. So,
Yes.
work with like she said, work with your legal team, work with us at Adswerve. So we are all here to support that and those changes and all those new requirements.
Yes.
So we're going to move on to our next question here, which says, what's your idea of a top priority in 2024 by channel?
I think we'll kick things off on this question with SA. And similar to what Mary was talking about recently with trends, obviously top of mind for all of us in the SA 360 space is that potential early sunset of the legacy UI to the new UI in 2024. So with that being said, I think, as the year comes to an end and we think of January 2024, we really should be hitting the ground running and making sure we're acclimating ourselves to the new UI if we haven't done so already. For my clients and other marketers I know alike, they are thrilled with the new UI. Personally, myself, I learned paid search in Google Ads. So jumping into the new UI and seeing that similar and familiar feel with the UI was great. However, it is still SA360, and SA360 has its own features and such, and there are plenty of nuances between the legacy UI and new UI that we really need to familiarize ourselves with. I would say a majority of clients do, just as it will impact their day-to-day and being able to manage their paid search campaigns. But with that being said, for our clients that have already migrated, great, take a look around the new UI if you're still acclimating yourself. And if you have any specific questions, feel free to reach out to your Adswerve team to see how we can assist. And for those that didn't make it in time before the coding freeze this year to migrate, no worries as well. You can take this time to check out Adswerve Connect, get a feel for the new UI ahead of time. So when you are finally able to migrate, you're ready to go, locked and loaded with your team. And then also I'll go ahead and take a look at the Google Ads space. And I recommend on that side, as we're looking at 2024, is testing the waters into the variety of AI-powered tools and ad types that Google has been rolling out on this side. If you're not in Performance Max already, that is where I recommend you to start. Google has released very swiftly a variety of different tactics and targeting features and such on the PMax side. So it feels a little bit less black box these days than it initially felt when a lot of us first saw PMax roll out into the Google Ads space. And while AI and automated tools may not ever be 100% perfect, we do know this is the way of the future. And I'm encouraging businesses and marketers alike to stay ahead of that curve, especially with rumors of DSAs getting sunsetted in favor of PMax. It's a perfect example how the AI movement is changing up the paid search space rapidly. And as businesses and marketers, we need to be prepared and stay ahead of it.
And I can kind of speak to DB side of things as well. Love this question, so thanks to whoever wrote this one. I feel like it's kind of finally time to go get your bag, and by bag I mean attribution. So I think, as Mary had mentioned, a lot of people want more insights into CTV and YouTube. Google has officially announced the launch of the CTV cross-device metrics that should be coming in the next few weeks, and I think that should be definitely one of the top priorities for 2024, as we've talked about these trends and they're growing, and now we can kind of get those additional insights and metrics.
Sweet, and rounding it out in the GMP with Campaign Manager, I'd say getting integrated with GA4 would be a top priority. Kind of integrate it, get familiar with it, kind of start to explore things. For clients that may not be an opportunity at this time, I would encourage you to start cleaning up your floodlights, get ready for cleaner data, the future that's coming up where data is going to be more closely watched and modeled. Your CM360 floodlight architecture is going to be incredibly critical. So kind of start to make sure that that's in a really good spot.
And I'm going to add on to Lauren's essay spiel real quick, because from the training and development side, I have to say I would be remiss if I did not say that we just released a new series of on-demand videos for the new SAUI. So if you're still getting used to navigation or the terminology changes, go check those out. They are on Connect. Okay, question number 4 reads, what is a beta coming out next year that you're each really excited about?
I'm going to kind of cheat in my answer on that one because it's not coming out in 2024. It launched this year, but I'm excited for what clients will be able to do with it in 2024, and that is the CTV cross-device conversions beta that Brittany was just talking about. So I'm excited to see how it'll revolutionize clients' campaigns in the coming year, the data that they're able to draw from it. So just to see the growth, storytelling, changes that happens in conversion measurement with CTV and DV360, I'm super excited about.
Yeah, and I guess I would have to really just second Mary's answer / what I also just mentioned. So I think I've been in CTV, for a few years now, and I remember it just starting out, and it's good to see CTV kind of finally having its moment and the evolution of attribution and metrics in the industry, but also in DV360.
Nice. And I'm going to keep with the AI theme because, as we know, in the paid search space, Google is going really hard in the paint with all the new AI innovations rolling out. So the feature I'm really excited about is the new conversational AI creative piece in Google Ads. It really stuck out to me at Google Marketing Live earlier in the year because I remember seeing the earliest forms of an AI-based tool come out as just a quick beta in Google Ads in late March, early April of this year. And while it lacked luster at the time, I was getting really excited. I knew Google was coming out with something bigger and better. So when GML rolled out, showed that was available or was coming down the pipeline, I got really excited. So I'm ready to hop in and start testing out, the quality of the creative it outputs and how it can really capture a brand.
AI does seem to be a buzzword everywhere in marketing, in education, in finances. So that makes a lot of sense. All right, our next question. What should I be prioritizing in 2024?
Yes, great question. Happy that people are considering this. I'd say an honest review of how things are going and then growing where you need to go to like achieve what you might want. So I'd say that starts with like auditing and aligning your teams on the current state of how your campaigns are set up, the workflows, et cetera. Are they all that they could be, and it's time to move on to maybe more like strategic measurement and targeting opportunities? Or is it kind of the other side? Do your teams need more knowledge? So it's like an internal growth to kind of get the foundations of the platforms and what's possible for a campaign. There's so many different facets to the media buying journey and kind of what we do. So taking that deep dive look at what you're currently doing, finding areas for growth, and then like actually taking the step to commit to that change will be, I'd say, is what should be the priority. The cost at this point is too high to be stagnant or kind of procrastinate on those changes.
I really like this question because when I was thinking about it in terms of the paid search space, this kind of seems like it might be coming out of left field. And as simple as it sounds, I really think clients should be taking a closer look at their overall keyword strategies and really see how diversified they are. Throughout the year from clients and colleagues alike, I've heard plenty of murmurs around a broad match only paid search space or a broad and exact match only space with the sunsetting of just phrase. So I would really say to my clients and even other businesses, this isn't a time really to shy away from broad match, but really embrace it and uses it as an opportunity to utilize it and practice optimizing towards a campaign that does have a handful of broad match terms in it. See what your SQR reports look like, see how spend changes, see how performance reacts to these keywords. Because if clients can get ahead of this potential change in the paid search space, then they would be well equipped for the day that Google may make this announcement.
Excellent. Thank you. Moving on to question number 6. How is Google handling privacy now and for the future?
Also a great question. Lots of different kind of aspects to this, but most simply kind of put, Google's working more on the back end solution so that you as a media buyer and team or as a marketer, kind of focus more on the front end solutions, like your first party data and kind of what you're bringing into the mix. So kind of everything, as I said, they're on the back end, they're working with publishers and exchanges and kind of the data that feeds into their tools to make sure that those are durable and compliant in terms of identifiers, so that in terms of a bid stream or any audience alignment, kind of everything that goes into it within the media buying process is up to par, especially since, y'all don't have access to what goes on behind the scenes. So they're kind of doing that in multiple different ways. They've got a lot of different names for it. They're working on different iterations of things, but they're kind of taking that back end approach. And they're also creating solutions like a privacy sandbox APIs, data clean rooms like Ads Data Hub. So not only just like the back end data pipes side of it, but also kind of what will happen with the data after you buy as well, kind of in like how you look at that and analyze it. All kind of while looking at adapting internal technology improvements, including things like conversion modeling and enhanced conversions, kind of to pair together, what data is a like definitive identifier with those that will now in the future kind of be modeled, and how things can be privacy compliant in the future and now. And all in all, just kind of working to create, like I said, those durable backend identifiers with that built-in modeling capabilities that'll fill in gaps where the identifier won't live. But as I said, kind of to kick this one off, there are a lot of different facets to this. And in most conversations, the answer is very tailored to like your campaigns, what data you have access to, how your campaigns, where they currently sit. So if you have any questions or want further discussions around this topic, please reach out to your Adswerve account representative. There's a lot of different, we want to be able to give you the information that's super applicable to you and your clients. So just reach out.
Nice. Next we have, I know first-party data is important, but it can be difficult. What's an easy way to incorporate first-party data into our campaigns?
Yeah, this is a great question. I would say continue to leverage, floodlight audiences from CM360 for any floodlight audiences that you want to create and build off of for any ease of use or just access to those types of audiences. Additionally, you can utilize GA4 audiences for more customized solutions and modeled solutions that you can really tune for your prospecting, as well as retargeting or even suppression. Additionally, if you have a large set of audiences you want also kind of modeled and customized, I'd look to BigQuery. And then if you're doing any type of CRM or email list that you want to upload, leveraging LiveRamp or DV360's customer match. Right now, those are kind of going to be the best ways that you can lean into the first-party data that you might already have, just because they all have nuances and limitations, and you just want to be as effective and efficient as possible with that data.
Yeah, and back to what Mary was starting to talk about on the last question, more and more often I am finding myself recommending enhanced conversions for my clients. You have the ability to do enhanced conversions for web, which is online related leads, and enhanced conversions for leads, which would be your offline data. And both are a safe and efficient way for you to be able to fill in the gaps of the user journey, both online and offline. Basically what's happening with that is Google is using their SHA-256 algorithm is how they refer to it. And what happens is when you pass this data along to them, they hash it. And along with your first party data, Google is able to take, again, their hash data as well and their IDs and match it with user data. And so it's great because it helps you fill in that journey a little bit more, kind of get a little bit of better idea for attribution purposes. And it can also as well improve on your bidding efficiencies.
Wonderful. We have one more question today, and that is, what are other clients doing right now that we should consider?
I think one tool that I see clients using a lot more often right now, especially in the SA360 space, is value-based bidding, which is super exciting because it basically just takes their bid strategy to the next level. It's giving them an edge over your run-of-the-mill automated or smart bid strategy that you find. Basically by a client being able to assign different values to their conversion actions, and also by utilizing conversion value rules if they have different values based off of audience segments or location or even device targeting. My clients can pass along additional values behind these data points. So basically Google can know what matters most and how to bid accordingly based on these values. So again, it just allows more advertisers, more businesses, marketers to kind of be in the driver's seat and really better explain and lead these bidding efficiencies and such based off of these values. And while the time to boot can be a month plus, there is definitely value in the long run in getting VBB set up. So definitely don't let the lead time to get this ready to go deter you. It's a great tool to be utilizing in 2024.
Yeah, I'm noticing that a lot of clients are coming to us wanting to do things with their architecture, and I'm also very highly encouraging of testing. The reason for that is that a lot of people are coming to us again for this architecture on the back end to structure that data properly, because campaigns can really only be as successful as the data behind it. So a lot of businesses are being really cognizant of the dollars that are being spent right now with everything going on. And we fully understand that. We want to set them up for success too. And I know that because everyone's so cognizant of where they're spending those media dollars, testing can kind of fall by the wayside. But we are definitely seeing so many rapid changes happening right now in this time that you really want to still be allocating at least some dollars to testing things, because right now with all of those changes, you'll want to get ahead of that. As Mary mentioned, now is really not the time to let that fall on the wayside. So just try to keep testing things and seeing what works and what doesn't work, and continuing to build on that data, because yeah, it's going to start making those changes quickly, and you'll want to be ahead of the curve.
Awesome. And of course, we have that slide that Mary presented earlier with several client trends on it, so feel free to go back and check that out too. Okay, that brings us to the end of today's webinar. I do want to remind you all again that if you have questions that we didn't cover, please reach out to your Adswerve account manager. We know it's kind of a weird time and we want to help you through it. We want you to come out shining on the other side. So reach out to us, let us know how we can help. I would like to thank our panelists today, Brittany, Lauren, and Mary, for sharing your insight. It was wonderful. And I'd like to thank all of you for attending. Do keep an eye out for a follow-up email with a recording of our session today, and have a great week.